I'm Erica, also known as E.MoniQue, and this is my real life. Hang out with me as I side-eye the ups and stumble through the downs. Watch as I turn my tiny piece of the Arizona desert into a tropical oasis. Fight to beat infertility and figure out where I fit as an artist in this crazy creative world. All while awkwardly discovering my authentic self. I'll be talking out loud about the things I wish someone would have said a while ago and sorting through what I wish I didn't know. Who knows? Maybe you can relate, as I often ask myself.
So I'm so tired. It is 10:15 at night and I'm blown. I'm about to go to bed, but I wanted to just kind of like talk about the day that I had today. It took a minute for me to get to sleep last night, but once I did, I slept well. Got up about 6:30, 6:40 this morning, and I don't know if it was energy or adrenaline or like my mind was going, maybe a combination of all three, but got up, got myself together, and was out the door to just start the day. I needed to go to my grandmother's house to just check on a couple things, and then I made it there in time before, because I came in the door and my aunt was on the way out of the door, on the way to the hospital. So I just hitched a ride with her and we were there. My mom met us up there. Then later on, my uncle met us up there, and then she had other family members and friends visit. Mostly family. But we stayed up there all day. We got there about 9:30, 9:45-ish. I honestly don't remember. It was still early. So from 9 to a little after 8 p.m., all day long, just being with her. And today there were some different developments. I'm not sure if they were better or not, but they were definitely different from before, so from yesterday. So I don't know, for me today was a bit harder because like things are just now kicking in really for me. I don't know, not kicking in, but like catching up, if you will. And so with how different things were today, it was just kind of hard to, it was just harder. But like we had some other people emotional, like my mom has been emotional and trying to keep it together. And so like and then my aunt, just like everybody is taking it hard in their own way. And like me, I'm like yesterday, I wasn't able to really like keep it together once they were telling us what was going on, once we kind of understood like how bad this was. Like I wasn't able to keep it together, but like today I don't know what makes me do it. Like not just today, but like in general, unless something totally like catches me like from left field, I feel like I have to keep it together for other people. But also like I know once I start, it would be hard for me to stop, and it would be like once I start crying, then like my head and my nose and everything just goes, and I don't like to feel that way, which is why I don't really like, one of the reasons why I really don't like crying, because it hurts me literally. It hurts my head, and it just, everything is just like pressure, and it's just hard for me to focus, and so I don't like feeling like that. But on the flip side, like when I'm not around a bunch of people, like I lose my shit. Like last night I cried in the shower, and just like a little bit before I went to sleep, and like today there were several times throughout the day where I wanted to just like lose it, but I couldn't. Like, so I don't know. I feel really, really sad. It's a really shitty situation all the way around, because the reality is that my grandmother will never be the same. She's not talking. She can't communicate with us, but her consciousness is still there and her awareness is still there. She just can't communicate with us. So that's hard to see. And so we've just been talking to her, and she'll kind of look at you and like move her eyes a bit, but she can't do much else. And I think mostly what's jacking me up is like she has the most responsiveness, or she's the most responsive when she sees me, which is hard for me because like she reacts the most when she sees me, and so I will try to be in her line of sight and just look at her in her eyes and hold her hand. And when she sees me, she moves her eyes and she moves her hand. And she doesn't really do that too much with anybody else. Oh, God. This is like really stupid to say, but I've felt this for a long time, and like I've never said it out loud before now, but it sometimes is, this is really stupid to say, because I know a lot of people don't have somebody else. A lot of people don't have other people. A lot of people are lonely, very lonely, in the most basic way, like in physical ways, and just different aspects. So like for me, because I am a very sensitive person, even if it doesn't seem like it, I really try to have this like cold exterior. And sometimes I work at it and sometimes I don't have to. That's just how I've become. It's just kind of like hardened and cold, but not because I'm trying to be mean or trying to be that way. It's just protection, because I do feel very deeply for people. I do care for people and love them, and I feel for them, and I'm like the biggest empath. I am, but I say all that to say that sometimes it has been really, really hard to be loved as much as I am loved by my family. And I know that a lot of people don't understand that. They can't relate. They wish they had what I had. And that's what makes me feel stupid and ungrateful for saying such a thing. Because, like, how can it be hard for you to be loved? But it's difficult because sometimes I feel like, what's so fucking great about me? Like, you love me just because I'm here, like I exist. And sometimes that doesn't seem fair because, again, I know a lot of people have to work at being loved by someone, or they're not in the same position as I am. But that's why I was saying yesterday, like, my heart is a bit at peace because I know, there's no question, I know how much my grandmother loves me. I really do. I know it. She loves me. And like, I can still feel that now because, like I said, when I come around and I look at her, she moves her eyes and she looks at me. She doesn't do that for everybody. And so she knows that I'm there, and I talk to her, and I let her know that, I'm here, and I love her too, and she knows that, and we just have this strong connection. We always have. And there's like a story behind, like, as part of my birth story, there's like a specific section of it for just me and her. So we've had this bond my whole life. So it's hard to like see her and not be able to, we can't communicate with each other really. That's like, what do you do with that? And my family's having a hard time. My family's having a really hard time with that because it's hard to make decisions when, the person that you love is, they're completely changed. Like, they're completely changed, but they're not gone, So I'm trying to be there for my mom and for my aunt. All of her kids my grandmother's kids are taking it hard. And I can't imagine being in that position to have to see your mother that way or your parent that way and still have to make decisions and just take over everything. So today was harder. I was hoping that every day that we get to see her and every day that she does something different, hopefully, that it would be easier to kind of like get ready for whatever the next phase is. And today, like all day long, I was in and out of like, I don't want her to be this way too much longer. Like, this isn't her. Like, I know that she's still in there, but it's not her. And like, I don't want her to be that way too much longer. But at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe she's trying to tell us something. She's trying to work hard and do what the nurses and doctors tell her. She's trying, so. Oh, gosh. And it's hard for me to see other people taking it hard because I know what that is. Like, she has loved on and helped a lot of people and been there for a lot of people. And like I said, the way that we had that waiting room yesterday and her room, how many people came to just see her for a few minutes. There were so many people. And even today, like her visitors today, and she'll have visitors tomorrow, and just seeing how like different family members are taking it hurts my heart too. Because it's like everybody's hurting. And I feel really sad for like my little cousins who are, you know, that's their grandmother too, and they're taking it hard. Oh gosh. And there's just so much more to come. There's more people that haven't seen her. There's more people that don't know about her condition yet. And it's just like, what the fuck? We're starting to have people fly in. So I'm exhausted because all I do is like all of this. I hold this in all day long, and I'm strong all day long while I'm in front of her, because I don't want her to see me cry. I don't want her to see me upset. And I know that once I start getting upset, then that'll upset my mom. And I have to keep it together. And so by the time I've had a long day and then I come home and I'm tired and I reflect on like how the day went, and like it catches up to me, and then I'm finally able to just let it go and process it the way that I know how to process it, and that makes me even more tired. And this is only the second day. And it's amazing how quick your world can get flipped upside down. And I'm not saying that I understand how my friend feels. My friend who lost her son recently, but I can see how things catch up at a certain part of the day, and it's harder. It's like daylight just like clears things out, and then as soon as night comes, and like everything just keeps like runs up to you. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. Bro, I'm gonna stop this and I'm gonna go lay down before I get a headache. So yeah, that's today. So it is almost 9:00, and I just got home, and I'm really, really tired. Like everything in me is just kind of drained, and I felt like that all day. Just an update on how my third day went in regards to my grandmother. This morning, my plan was to stop by my grandmother's house a little bit later in the morning than I had been going to that side of town. But a little bit later in the morning, I was going to drop by my grandmother's house and help my brother with a few things. And then, specifically, we were going to start preparing her spare bedroom for in-home hospice care, because yesterday we were giving a set of options that weren't really options. She wasn't getting any better. There was no treatment options for the hospital. And it's like, once you get to those kind of like, this is where we're at with the hospital. I hate to say it, but they want you out. Like, they want you to the next place, because a hospital is supposed to be treating. If they're not treating, then they don't really want you there. So they were telling us we didn't have to rush. We didn't have to make the decision on what to do, et cetera, et cetera. But I could feel from a mile away what it was. And they wanted us to make a decision and like start moving towards that. And so yesterday we were kind of going back and forth on what would be best for her and what would be best for the family, as far as like taking care of her and taking shifts to be with, like, just what was going to be the best for everybody. And so at first I thought that it might be best for her to go into a total care facility. That way it would alleviate some of my family members from having to just do that part, because everybody is still working a full-time job, and like we're taking care of other sick family members. And so I just thought, you know, let's pick a good place and, you know, have her be taken care of there, and then we can figure out shifts to go and sit with her and be with her and talk with her and just make sure that everything is kosher. So that was my first thought. And then probably within a couple hours later, we had another doctor come in and give us kind of more of a straightforward conversation. And then the options that were given to us were really like, well, you can only take someone to an inpatient facility if they only have like a short time to live, like a few days to maybe a few weeks. But other than that, if it seems like it's going to be longer, then we would need to consider taking them, which doesn't make sense to me, because I've heard several other stories where a person lives for months and months and months, and they're in a full-time facility. So I don't know why we were told that, but the other option was to have her come home and then have like a nurse come out to the house 3 to 4 times a week, and then we would take care of her the other time in between, which made sense. But we were all kind of nervous because, again, it's like we're not going to have that medical support 24/7 like we would if she was in a care facility. But it's like one doctor is telling us this is how much time she has left, and then another doctor is telling us another time. So we're like, well, what do we do? And so that was yesterday. Yesterday, we left the hospital with the decision that we were going to just bring her home and take shifts and just do our very best to support each other, and just making sure that she's comfortable at home around us, and we could control and provide for her like the best way that we could, you know, versus like leaving it up to strangers that we may not necessarily trust. So that's where we left off yesterday. But this morning, this morning my goal was to just kind of take my time getting ready and out, because I was going to stop by my grandmother's house and help my brother to prepare her room and move things out and take down furniture so that they could move the hospital bed in whenever they were ready. Just like think ahead and prepare ahead. So I get out of the shower and like my phone's ringing, and so it's my aunt basically telling me to don't worry about my original plan, because she had a really rough night and she's not doing well. So I was like, well, there we go. So from that call early this morning, I kind of like was preparing for that kind of a day, right? But I had no idea. Like, I was not I don't know what I could have expected, but I wasn't expecting what was going on when I walked in. So when I get there this morning, because by this time my aunt's like, don't go to the house, just whatever you want to do. So I go to the hospital, and I walk into my grandmother's room, and she has on double oxygen. So she has the oxygen tubes in her nose, and she has like a full-blown mask on, like the machine helping her to breathe. And like I asked later on, and she's like, the nurse, who's lovely by the way, the nurse was like, we're not giving her double oxygen. It was just an emergency last night, and everybody was kind of like in a panic. So rather than trying to get the tubes out of her nose, we just put the mask on. But she's like, the tubes that are in her nose are not actually connected to the oxygen. It's just this at this point. So I was like, okay. But basically what they're saying is, because yesterday they had been rotating her from side to side just to make sure that she was like getting some circulation and to make sure that she wouldn't get any sores from laying in one spot for too long. So they would not rotate, but just like change sides like from every couple hours or so. And so last night when they went to go and like check on her and change sides and all that stuff, when they moved her, her oxygen plummeted and her heart rate skyrocketed, and she was basically like, her body was going into like a crashing mode. So they had to stabilize her. They put the oxygen on, and because she was also having trouble breathing, she wasn't breathing. So but from that point on, that evening all the way until this morning, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just like her, I don't know how to explain it. I don't think it was, so like, even though the oxygen mask was on her face, it wasn't like forcing air into her lungs, I don't think, but it was just like her body is just having trouble breathing. So it was like her chest was just going like up and down really, really hard, like really, really struggling to just breathe. And it was, I don't know. Like I said, this whole process has been really confusing because you're seeing one thing and you're not understanding why this is happening or what's making this happen. And so, and just like yesterday, she spent a good majority of time with her eyes open, and we had all the visitors come, and I talked about that. But today, like from this morning, the entire day, she did not open her eyes. She did not respond. She did not move. Yesterday, at least, she was moving her arm some, and her fingers and her hand, and was opening her eyes and just was awake and aware. Today, she was not at all. And they just like keep her on medication. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that she took a really, really sharp turn for the worse. And so our plan from yesterday was totally tossed out, because the hospital has some sort of rule, or I don't know. They have this thing where it's like, once someone takes a turn like that, they basically told us that we couldn't take her home, which makes sense in hindsight, because we really don't know how much longer she's going to live. I don't think that she's going to live. I don't know. She'll probably pass by the end of the week. And it's Wednesday. And I'm just being honest because at this point, I believe that she's already gone. Like, yesterday was such a good day, but a hard day because her eyes were open all day long. And she, like I was telling you, like, she looked at me and we just were looking at each other, and she looked at a couple of other people, and that was that. But like, I think after that, like, I think she left. I think that she's been gone, and it's just her body that won't be released for whatever reason. Like, her body is still alive, but I don't think I think she left us a while ago. And so if she makes it through tonight, like, I think that her body will finally be released by the end of the week. Everything has happened so fast. It's crazy. Like, it's so crazy to me. And like, it's like, I don't think it's kicked in really for like her, like my mom and the rest of their siblings, because they're just like, well, she was fine on Friday. She was fine on Saturday. We sat up and we talked and we laughed and we did all these things on Saturday. And it was like, from Saturday being such a lovely time, and the week prior, and everybody had a story to tell. They were like, we just talked to her, and then it was such a lovely conversation. We just did this, and it was just, you know, like, everything was fine. To then Sunday, this event occurs, and then from Sunday it just rapidly decreases. Every few hours, it seemed like it just got increasingly worse. And I think that she was able to be as aware as possible to just like lay eyes on everybody for the last time. And then after that, I think she left. But what am I trying to say? Back to the story. So the hospital, like, so not only does she have this mask on, but like, her breathing again is incredibly labored. And from the time that I got there this morning around 10:30 until the time that we left the hospital, which was like 5, her breathing got more and more laborious, and her lungs were filling with fluid. We could hear it went from a rattle, like, I'm not sure, like, I'm familiar with the sound because of like having bronchitis and then having asthma and having like serious chest colds. Like, we kind of have that bad in the family, just like asthma and like breathing problems. So we know what wheezing sounds like. We know what the different sounds in the lungs sound like. So from the time that I got there this morning, she had a rattle in her chest and her breathing. And it got increasingly bad very quickly throughout the day, to the point where it's like they started giving her medication to try and help dry up or drain the fluids from her lungs, because it went from a raspy wheeze to a gurgle. And I know that that's graphic, and I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to get this out. Like, her lungs were filling up very quickly with fluid, and there wasn't anything that anybody could do. They kept trying to say, well, we'll try and like see if we can suction some of that out to help her breathe better, but they really couldn't do it because it wasn't like in her sinuses, it's in her lungs. And so one of our close family friends who has been through this many times, unfortunately, it was me and her in the room with my grandmother, and she just was like, do you know what that actually is? Because nobody else will say it. Like, I kept telling the nurse, like, hey, this seems like it's getting worse. And she's just like, yeah, like I gave her, the medicine or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, there's so much information that the nurses and like doctors and certain people will keep from you. And I don't know why, because that makes it worse. I feel like give people direct information so that they understand what's going on rather than trying to like tiptoe around facts. Right? Like, so this family friend was like, this is what this is actually called. What did she say? She called it, okay, I'm not going to say what she called it, but it, like when I heard it, it was like very like shocking, but it also made sense because it just got increasingly bad. And like, I don't know, I won't continue to give details about like what I observed and what was happening. It was extremely hard to see, and even more like incredibly hard to hear. And it just was getting louder and louder and worse. And it was like, it sounds like drowning, right? So that was getting really hard for me. And then, so then we had people from the hospice facility come in and talk to us about what happens, what to expect, answer any questions that we may have had. And then once we made the decision, like, okay, well, I mean, they say that we can't take her home, and really, like, things are progressing so quickly, like, maybe this would be best if we just take her to this inpatient facility. So paperwork was signed, and they're like, okay, well, probably this won't happen within the next couple of hours or so, but we want to try and get her between this time and this time. And if it's not that time, it's going to be after, blah, blah, blah. And so we were really hoping it would be kind of like later on in the evening, because there were still some of her kids that did not, they wanted to come and see her before we left with her to the hospice facility. So, and it's like, I cannot make this up, and I'm having trouble explaining it because there are so many moving parts to what has been happening this week. So many parts. So there's another family member that is in the same hospital as she is, and they had to go in for emergency surgery today. And that child of hers really wanted to say goodbye, see her before they took that child to emergency surgery and before they took my grandmother to hospice. And of course, none of that coordinated. Everybody downstairs, their doctors and nurses, and everybody was like, we need to get you in for a scan first, but as soon as that scan is done, we're going to make sure we get you up here to see your mom so you can tell her goodbye. And so basically we were hoping that the ambulance would not come to transport her until like later in the evening. We also had another child that was like literally flying in and was like on their way from the airport. So it was like a lot of people were just trying to get here fast. So like on time, like right at 5:00, here comes transport. Both of the kids had not arrived yet. And we were just kind of like really disappointed because, of course, the one time that somebody is on time and we don't want them to be, they were here and they transported her. And within like, it didn't take long at all. They were so quick. It was almost annoying. They were like, okay, we're here to take her. And they had everybody like step out of the room while they got her ready because they needed the space also. And I don't know, whatever. They had her together in less than 15 minutes. And so then we started calling to like try and find out like what's going on with one of her kids downstairs who hadn't gotten to see her. So like half of us are going to the hospice care with my grandmother. The other half of us are going downstairs to check on the other family member. And so comes to find out that they took the family member for surgery and didn't notify anybody and didn't bring him up or didn't do anything. And so that was really, really, really sad because I know that family member really, really wanted to say goodbye before all of this happened. So now it's like that family member is recovering from surgery and won't be able to easily leave the hospital to go to hospice to say goodbye. So we're really, really concerned about that part. The other family member that was coming in from out of town made it, but like not to the hospital. They came straight to the hospice facility. Because again, everything just hit so quickly. And I was like, this shit is so wild to me. Like, it's getting real. They're taking my grandmother out of the hospital. And that part was like really bothering me because it's like, you don't leave the hospital unless you're well, you know? So that was like jacking up my emotions and my thoughts and my processing is like the only time you leave the hospital is when you're well again, when they fixed you, when it's okay. And it's like my grandmother hadn't passed yet, but she's leaving the hospital and she's not well and she's not breathing well and she's not opening her eyes or responding or doing anything. So it's like it felt wrong for her to be leaving. And then just like following the ambulance to the hospice facility was just so fucking unreal. I'm just like, what is happening right now? Like, what is actually happening? But between the lady that came and talked to us about this facility and the women from my grandmother's church who are very familiar with the whole program and the specific facility and the people in it, like they name dropped, it immediately made all of us feel so much better about taking her there. Because you always hear like horror stories of hospice and nursing homes and all these things. And all I could think about in my head was like, we're going to get some stranger who doesn't know my grandmother, who doesn't love her, who's like, they're not going to care. And so I was like, I don't know, like this just doesn't feel right. But after talking to everybody, like multiple people that could vouch for this place and know firsthand and said that this is what you can expect, it's really nice, and I felt better. But the drive to the place was a little bit difficult once I got there. It's a very small, intimate place. It was quiet, it was clean, all the ladies were extremely nice. They're like, this is 24 hours. This is your home with her until she decides to go. She's like, you can come in 24 hours a day. You can come and sit in the common area. You can sit in her room. You can stay the night with her. You can bring food. You can do this. You can do that. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So my mom rode with her. I followed. By the time I got there, my uncle and my aunt from out of town from the airport were already there. And so like majority of us, we kind of met up all at the same time. And before you know it, like my other aunt who was checking on my other uncle who was in the ER getting surgery, like she showed up and was telling us the whole story about how they just took him. And like all of this happened in like perfect timing. We all got together and we were just waiting in the lobby because what happens is, well, I don't know if I need to go into detail, but they basically, when transitioning her from the hospital to hospice, they treat her so incredibly well. They transition her, they get her dressed, they get her comfortable, all the things before the family comes in and sees her. And they kind of like go over everything, and it was just so good. So after we got to see her and we got the lowdown on the place, we all just sat in the lobby and we talked, and more of my grandmother's co-workers and old friends and just everybody just started showing up, and we sat and talked and reconnected. And then we actually went and got food in the area and then came back and ate dinner, and there's a grocery like it was just, I don't even know. I have a different understanding, and I am grateful for that, and I feel so much better, and I'm going to be able to sleep tonight knowing that her body is in great hands. Like I said, I already know, like I believe that my grandmother has been left. She's gone. She's no longer in her body. It's just about like when God is ready to like release her body. And so I kind of feel like after tonight, I don't know how much I'm going to be going up there. I don't know. Like for me in this moment, it feels like I don't know how much more I want to go up there and see her body doing what it's doing and in the condition that it's in. And don't get me wrong, like this morning, she looked super peaceful. It just looked like she was sleeping. But like her chest and her breathing was really labored. She looked fine, but I'm not gonna lie. As the day progressed, she just felt colder. She just looked gradually different from when I saw her this morning. That's also an indicator to me that she has gone, right? So I don't know if I want to keep seeing her as her body is like rapidly declining, because even when we got there, the nurse at hospice was like, what you're hearing is in her lungs, and it's the body's natural response to like, this is part of her dying, basically. And I know that, and like everybody understands that, but the people at the hospital were making it seem like it was something else. And it's like the family friend was telling me, she told me personally that this what you're hearing now is part of the process, the transitioning process. So I say all that to say, I don't know if I need to or want to keep going up there and sitting with her and looking at her decline. And she's not awake, she's not aware. They say that they can hear and like they can still hear and what have you, but I don't think my grandmother's in there anymore. And so I don't want to keep I know that she wouldn't want that. I know that because she's said that, and she said that to all of us. She's made it very clear what, her wishes are. She's made it very clear about what she would hope for and hope not for. And she's made it clear on her beliefs on like what a waste of time, crying over or mourning over her body when she's not there anymore is, and how like she told me once that she didn't necessarily want anybody to like keep going to like a gravesite or anything to visit her. She's like, I'm not there. Like I don't want you guys to be doing that. And she's like, I never did that for any of my family members, and I don't want any of you guys to do that for me. Like, I'm gone. And so I don't know if I'm going to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to get up slowly when my body wants. I'm going to go work out because I haven't in a few days. And then I need to stick around because I have therapy, much needed, right on time. And then after that, I'm going to go see my family, but I don't know if I'm going to go see her because I don't want to keep having images of her dying. I know that she's gone. You know what I mean? So, today was hard. Like, I had trouble going to sleep last night. And then when I did sleep, I slept well. But the past couple of days, like, I've just been waking up crying. Like, my body isn't even fully awake yet. Like, I'm not even fully conscious, and I'm just like crying. And it's just like, wow, this is a weird part of grief that I have not experienced before. So I got up like 5:30 this morning, just crying and just thinking about stuff. And that's probably an indicator, like, that would have been like something was wrong, because it was like gradually getting worse. And I just went through our text messages. My grandma would text me and she would send me daily scriptures, like her favorite scriptures, and just encourage me. And I read those text messages in bed for about an hour or so. And then, I read them for about an hour. And then I tried to fall back asleep for a little while longer. And then I got up again and read some more. And I read through the Bible a little bit. And I had decided that maybe I would go. And this is before I even knew like how bad she had gotten this morning. I had all these thoughts and these feelings and these emotions. And I was like, you know what? I think it'll make us both feel better if I take my Bible up to the hospital and I read to her favorite scriptures. And so that was my plan for today. I was going to drop by, read to her, and then go about my business and help my brother and prepare her room. But I still got to do that. There was a moment where it was just me and her in the room today, and I read her favorite scripture, and then I read some of my favorites, and then that was it. And I just, like, we're good. Like I said yesterday, me and her are good. I feel amazing with how we left things. I have no doubts in my mind about anything. Like, we're good. It's just like this part is the inevitable shit that people go through when you lose someone. And in the way, like the quickness in which it all has happened, it is very shocking. Because I did not expect that. When I called and talked to her on Friday, I did not expect any of this to be happening at all. Of course nobody did. A stroke is a bitch, and it just comes out of nowhere, and this one snatched our heart away. It really did. Really quick. And so anyways, I'm okay. I'm happy that she's in the place where she's wanted to be. I know that probably she didn't want to go this soon, but she always said that when it was her time, she would be ready to go. And so I'm glad that she's there now. I'm so happy. And I am truly at peace. And hell yeah, I'm going to miss her. I am going to miss her so much. And the rest of this year is going to be really hard without her. She truly is, like, truly was the glue that held everything together. Even when we didn't want to be held together, she was. And so we're gonna have to try really hard to, like, do what she would have wanted to do for the family. And I mean, like, I don't know. I'm still borderline. I had decided yesterday that I was backing out of the trip. My end of the year trip. I was just out of it. But now it's like I kind of almost hear her voice, like, fussing at me, saying, like, don't do that. Like, for what? Like, I'm gone. Why would you cancel your trip? Go. Have fun. Live your life. I can almost hear her, like, fussing at me about that. So it's like, I don't know. I have always kept her at the forefront of my mind, even when she was, like, healthy. Like, I always think, okay, what would my grandmother do? What would she think? What would she say? How would she do it? And so now that, forget it, like, that's tenfold now. So, yeah. And that's her right there. That's one of my favorite pictures of her. When she was a young hot girl. I love that picture because she has so much attitude in it. I don't know the story behind it. I don't know who took the picture, but she had attitude, and I love that. I love that picture. So, yeah. That was today. And like I said, I'm tired. I'm emotionally, physically, like, I was falling asleep in the hospital. It was just so quiet. And I was cold, like, I could not warm up. I was freezing. I don't know, like, I think mostly emotionally drained because I was just, like, wanted to sleep so bad. And then I don't know, I got, like, my second wind. Especially when they said, okay, we're here to X, Y, and Z. We're here to move her. And I'm like, okay. And I was going to ride with her to the place. But then I had to, like, check myself. And I'm like, bro, you are not her kid. You are her grandkid. Let her kids do what they need to do because this is their mother. And so my aunt was already like, well, I need to go check on baby brother downstairs. And my mom, she kind of gets, like, frozen too, like, she doesn't know what to do, or, like, she's trying to calculate in her mind what to do and, like, coordinating. And so I was like, well, unless, Mom, you want to ride with her. And she was just like, I not that she didn't want to, she just, I don't know what it is. And we're going to have a talk later, but I was like, Mom, like, you ride up there. And she's like, well, but what about, like, we all drove here? And I was like, I know, but we can coordinate to get you. Like, we're not going to just leave you stranded anywhere. We're not going to just, like, have your car here. Like, we'll get you coordinated. So she's like, okay, I'll ride with her. And I was just like, okay, that's settled. But then once we all went back into the room to get our stuff, and I was like, well, there's really no point in any of us staying here because what are we staying here for? Like, she's gone. So what's the point? So then once that kicked in for me really quick, I was like, okay, well, I'll just follow them to the hospital, to the hospice. excuse me, because I didn't want to stay at the hospital anymore, honestly. Like, I could not handle whatever was going on with my uncle down in the ER and emergency surgery, and I just could not. So it's like, I can't go down there right now. I'm gonna just follow my mom and help her to get her settled in, and then whenever my mom is ready, I'll bring her back to the hospital to get her car, and then she can go home. But yeah, yeah, that's the homie right there. That's the homie. I love her and I'll miss her. And like, one thing that I hope she'll do, and she probably will, is she'll probably go find her other great grandbaby, and then, go get to be with them and meet them and love on them. That's what I want her to do anyways, is go get my baby grandma. Go meet them. The one that never got to be Earthside. Go get them. And I know she will. So that's that. The next few days are going to be hard in the sense of, like, now we're gonna have to tell all, like, the rest of the family, like, what's going on, and just going through all of the emotions with other people is a whole other monkey. Like, it's really hard to see other people be upset, because, like, we know what that is. We know that that's nothing but love. My grandmother spent a lifetime of, like, loving, and she just, you always say, oh, that person made such an impact, but it wasn't just impact. It was like love. She loved on and took so many people under her wing and just held them and loved on them and thought about them and cared about them and prayed for them and so many things, that when somebody is genuinely hurt or sad or, has tears for my grandmother's situation, it's because they're hurt, because they have been loved by her. And that's been a lot of people. And I find that to be so amazing. So to just witness everybody go through process and go through their whole thing is going to be hard. And I don't know how much of that I'm going to be there for. The immediate family, yes, like for my cousins, I'll be there for them. It's going to be hard. And but like everybody else, like, I'm not going to be there for that. I don't want to be. But yeah, so that's that. I'm going to try to decongest. I did not have any tea today, so I might make a cup of tea, and I'm going to try to wind down and think about something else. Well, not think about something else, as if I'm not going to think about my grandmother, but like I don't want to cry over her anymore today. She's gone, and she's fine, and I know she's fine. We are good. So I'm going to move on with the next part of my evening, and then I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm going to sleep well. So yeah, that's it. So good night.